y'all. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's staying warm. I'm trying my best to. Appreciate everybody being here. I got the usual crowd, the regular peanut galleries here. Oh my goodness, we got people from all around the world, and I appreciate you all, each and every one, being here. Tonight, I'm going to. I've listened to your comments and your suggestions about the lives. Some of you appreciate the tutelage and the learning how to do projects, and some prefer just to do Q&As and address issues and questions. So I'm going to try to appease everybody, appeal to everybody. But the problem I have with doing strictly Q&As is typically when I do the tutorials, I'm showing you how to do a project that I've created. And it's a project that I have on the website for sale. And if I'm not generating new products and putting them up on the website, well, then I'm not selling anything. And if I'm not selling anything, then I'm not generating any revenue. And that's how I pay my bills. I've got some really good supporters and my patrons, and a few of you guys, you throw a little loot in the plate when we pass the plate. Well, I never actually pass the plate here in these streams. You just kind of chime in and surprise me with a gift, and I appreciate it, those that do. And I've got some really good supporters like Chuck and Bob, and all of your support is greatly appreciated and needed. So when I do strictly Q&As and I'm not presenting projects, well, like that cuts into my revenue source. So I did this week, and that designs it was a challenge, and it was not just a challenge to design and get the geometry figured out on the hinges, but it was also a challenge to assemble. So I would put this one in a intermediate to advanced design. So if you're new to lasering and box designs and the concept of putting all this one, you might kind of steer clear of, because it's a lot going on with it. The hinge is a double hinge lid that folds up and meets in the middle there, and get everything lined up. Continued the lattice across the top and around the sides, artwork on the sides and then the hinges here. But there are a lot of pieces to this puzzle, and it's very much like a puzzle when it comes time to assemble it. But that's on the website. But we're not going to, and because of how advanced and how complicated it is, I'm not going to go into the design and process of that in the live stream. But I also finished the lighted display for my LED heart, or the heart, and then with the LED light underneath. I finished that up, and let's see here, downloads. It turned out really, really nice. Is that what I want? Yep. And switch. And this is what we're going to talk about a little bit tonight. I wished I could remember which one of you suggested it. One of you suggested it in the live stream last week, or I think it was last week, about instead of doing a square box for the lighted base, to do an octagon or a polygon shaped box. And I like that idea, but it didn't work with my lighted LED stand that I had, and I was trying to use what I had. So following that train of thought of getting that, using an octagon shape, I went and found an octagon shaped LED base and an LED light. And it wasn't just for the acrylic. It was just an LED puck. and it was octagon shaped, so it worked out really well. But this is one of the simplest designs you can create, but there's one trick to it, one trick, and really just one. And we're going to show, wrong direction. There it is with the heart in place, and it lit up. And I've got, come on, there we go. So I'm going to show tonight, and because it won't take but just a couple of minutes to show you how to design a box like that, and without having to use box generators, just something you can do easily yourself. So we'll do that here in just a couple of seconds. And I also want to share with you some more information that I learned. I talked to you about doing the, let's see if it's in here. My Amazing Grace cross. Nope, it's not here, but go away and come here, and that's me, and photos. There we go. So this, I showed you this last week, I think, too, or week before. This is where I used my Amazing Grace cross design to add value to a piece that I bought at Hobby Lobby. And for the international viewers, I recognize you don't have a Hobby Lobby, but for you that are domestic here in the U.S., and that's the majority of you here tonight, I went to Hobby Lobby and did some investigating on how they do their orders and how I can take advantage of their best prices, and I'll explain all that to you. And what else? Oh, it was suggested to me that, I've got plenty of the hearts, like I just showed you. I've got plenty of the crystal hearts in stock again, and a lot of you have already taken advantage of it, but I still got a lot left. But someone emailed me, and I apologize. I don't call you out by name and say thank you, but thank you for the email that come across that suggested that I might sell quite a few more of those if people didn't have to buy the tape, because some of you have voiced problems acquiring this tape, and this is just 3M 201 plus crepe paper tape, but people have said that availability has been difficult or haven't been able to find it. So they suggested that if people didn't have to go and buy the tape, if they could buy the heart, the crystal heart, pre-taped, if I taped it up and sent it to them, and all I had to do is put it on laser and go to work, I'd probably sell quite a bit more. So if you think that applies to you, or you say, yeah, that would definitely help, and I would, then drop some comments in here. I'm going to scroll down the comments in a minute and see what you're having to say about what we're going on. But I could do a pre-taped crystal heart, so you didn't have to go out and buy this, because the right tape makes all the difference in the world. Robert reached out to me tonight with a problem he was having, where he was using tape to mask a piece of Baltic birch, and he was going to engrave it away. And then once it's engraved, he could paint fill it and then remove the masking. But the problem was the tape he was using wasn't burning away. The tape was just kind of melting and sinking into the engraving. And I did some research on that tape that he was using, and it was an extremely high temperature tape the laser was actually getting an engraving, but it did not, whatever that tape was made out of, it didn't burn it up. It just sunk it into the wood, making it a less than desirable result. So the right materials make all the difference in the world. And for those who have struggled finding the 3M 201 plus tape, Amazon availability has been hit and miss, or they haven't been shipping it out. It's just an automotive tape. It's used primarily in the automotive industry. And with that, you might actually find, or you'd have better success acquiring it through an auto supply store like Napa or O'Reilly or somebody like that that sells body shop materials, body shop supplies. They may not have it in the 12-inch roll, but they'll probably have it in a 6 or 8-inch roll. And that crepe paper tape with all natural adhesive makes all the difference when you're laser engraving with this tape. Be it either for masking purposes like Robert was using, or it's essential for when you're doing the crystal or any glass. I don't use any of the poly sprays or any of the chalkboard paints or anything. I just put tape on my glass and go to work, and it works great. And I can peel it off, no cleaning, no chemicals to, I know some of the chalkboard paint and some of that stuff wipes clean with water, but here you just peel it off. And if it's a little bit of glue, you just a little bit of alcohol or just whatever you're using to clean your acrylics, LA Awesome, that stuff just wipes off. So let's see where we're at in the comments here. And I need to put this up here for any of the first time viewers, anybody that's live or joining in. Anytime you've got a question, if you will precede your question with the 3 or 4 question marks, and if you just got a comment, you go, hey, wait a minute, Hobo, that was wrong. Don't say that. Use some exclamation points in front of your question and or comment, and that grabs my attention as I'm scrolling through the comments. So let me scroll through the comments. And while I'm doing that, I was also reached out this week about, because I've not been doing as many weekly videos because of my personal stuff going on. People are like, hey, man, we're missing your links. When we want to use your links to support you and help you as much as possible. And a link that you could use that would help me out, 98% of you buy from Amazon. And if you don't have, if you go to my website, and on my website, hobowithwood.com, there is a page for shop supplies. You can click on any one of those that take you to a landing page on Amazon. And even if you don't need the paint pens that are there, if you click on that paint pens link, it directs you to Amazon, and anything you buy after clicking on that link, they're going to send me a little something on most of it. So if you buy a box of dog treats or, a 12-pack of certs, breath fresheners, they'll send me something. So that's one way you can, any of the links that I have out there, it goes, any of your purchases after clicking on the link help a little bit. So let's see here. Wow. Let's see here. Kathy saying, keep doing the tutorials. Q&As, while good, are really hard to follow along with, especially for newbies. Yeah, and see, it's a mixed bag, Kathy. Got a frog. It's a mixed bag of interest. Sorry, got something in the throat. And honestly, when it comes to doing Q&As, a lot of times things get lost in translation. Sometimes it's literally lost in translation, or it's a matter of a right brain person talking to a left brain person, and you're saying this, but I ain't following what you're saying, and the question's not clear, and it gets muddled, and it's hard sometimes. But there are times that helping when one person's got a question, there's usually more than that one. There's 3 or 4 more people who's going to have a similar issue, and they all benefit from that. But it is a mixed bag of and Chris says, I prefer the projects because a lot of Q&A can be handled in chat. Yeah. Yeah, Jack, I agree with you. Q&As can get very scatterbrained. And as my champion supporter there, like, share, and subscribe. I can't see how many likes are in the stream right now, but we got 98 of you viewing. All 98 of you, go hit that like button. Just go hit that like button. Because if you've been here before, you're going to like this. And if you haven't, vote in confidence that you're going to like what's going on, because there'll be some stuff you learn tonight. And for the newbies, when you see people, when I start showing demonstrations, you start seeing numbers pop up in the chat. They've learned something. Hey, I learned a new thing. That's a number one. If they learn another thing, they put a 2 up. So you start seeing numbers pop up. That's when people are starting to learn something. All right, Chris says including the tape is a great idea. Yeah, I just need to fix that shipping, because that's The international shipping is a woof. All right, taped sounds great. I've got the tape, but don't think it's the 3M201 plus. It's a paper tape, though, used in sign making. Yeah. I used to, whenever I had my automotive shop and I was a retail tire store, I'm half an hour away, give or take, from some of the larger wholesale distributors in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I'd need a tire and I need it now. And I'd call them up, hey man, can you throw that tire on your transporter and beam it to me? Yeah, it'd be nice if we had that technology. Beam it over. And Ed says that Amazon has the 6-inch wide tape. And I looked earlier and they had the 11-inch wide earlier. And Craig says they got the 4-inch in stock right now. Just did that yesterday. Not all laser related. Just did that yesterday. Not all laser related. Don't know what you're referring to, Brad. I'm got too far in the comments. Or just did that yesterday. Not all laser related. If it needs some clarification, I don't know there. Jack, that 11 or 12-inch roll, I think it was like, but now this it's $50 or more. But I've had this same roll for going on a year and a half. And I don't always need 11 inches, because I don't think it's 12. I think it's just 11 inches. It might be 12, because I do my entire tiles, but it's a little bit over 11. It's about 11 and an eighth. But when I do the mirrors behind in fact, I need to take that Christmas down. That when I do the full size 12-inch mirrors, I can take this in one application, cover the entire engraved surface, and I don't have to worry about the tape overlapping or leaving seams from not overlapping. Seams and overlapping tape when you're trying to engrave are problems. And that's why I went with this. And whenever I'm doing the little heart shapes, the crystal hearts, of course, I only need a little 4x4-inch section. And that's why if you can see, you can see there, it's ripped in the middle right there, because I only needed half of the width. But now my bases are covered. I got the big one when I need it, and I can just rip off what I need as I need it. 10 for yesterday's video for making a cube. Thank you, Kevin. And I fell into that. Like I say, there's always, in fact, I think I even put that in the thumbnail. I said, it's the simplest way, it's the best way. And then down at the bottom, and there's always another way. I had never used that technique of making a cube until last week. And I was making a cube and I'm duplicated my square and moved it over. And I moved the slots and or tabs at the same time. And I looked and I said, that works. I fell in, it was a happy little accident. I was like, holy smoke, that's super cool and super easy. And doing these octagon boxes that we're going to look at here in just a minute, not octagon, I say polygon, because I'm going to let you tell me how many sides you want to do. We're going to do a polygon, some random number of sides. So it's not something that I've pre-planned or pre-rehearsed, but doing a polygon box like this, and like the one I just showed you, is actually easier to do than a cube. So let's see here. Looking for more questions. Let's see. Multiple sizes available, 4 and 11. Yep. Maybe when things start to settle down, you can do a Q&A Thursday once a month. Yeah, I long for that day, the day that things settle down. Thank you, Brad. Appreciate you. Tape width can be a problem. You should have seen the look I got when I asked if they had 12-inch painter's tape. Because if they're thinking you're using it for painting, they're like, wow, he must not be able to have any control over his limbs at all. I need to paint this up so I can tape it. This one paint. I need 12-inch tape to tape up my trim, and this is how you paint. That way, with 12-inch tape, you ain't got to worry about keeping the paintbrush anywhere near the lines because you got plenty of tape up. I bet that did get a good look. Okay. No wonder what. I guess maybe no wonder why Granger has it in stock. Yeah, it's automotive tape, or it's used primarily in the automotive industry. And it's not. In fact, I would say that it's probably not, which is ironic. It's probably not the best painter's tape for house paint, because of it being the true painter's tape gives you a better seal and a cleaner release when using paint lines, but it works excellent in the automotive world. I made a cube from scratch using the technique, worked perfectly. Yeah, it's a slick technique. If you haven't seen that, folks, I dropped a video yesterday, on making a cube, and it's just so simple. And learning, and if you want to do something like this, if you want to design this yourself, you've got to master making a cube. If you're still struggling, and I've gotten lots of comments and feedback from people that are like, yeah, I got lost, totally lost. I don't understand it. That is the simplest method I have ever seen and or demonstrated when it comes to making a box. And I understand, I'm not making fun or poking, but if you're still struggling with that concept that I demonstrated yesterday, then don't buy this. Don't download this file, because it'll whoop you. You don't have to design anything, but just trying to put it together, it'll whoop you. But you need to get good and comfortable designing a cube. And once you realize, okay, I now see what's working and how it's doing and why it's doing, then you can start doing different shape, different dimensions, a 5x4 box or 5x7 box or whatever. But get into and not relying on box generators. You don't need them. And I'm going to show you a couple of files that I've helped folks with in this week and why you don't want to use box generators. 12-inch tape, no brush, use a super soaker. or one of those one of those paint guns, a paintball gun. Just tape up, just go at it. Yep. I have a 12-inch mask. I have a roll of 12-inch masking tape, but I'm not sure if it's the same as yours. Should I try it? It's only your material, or whatever you're going to use it on. It'd be your waste if it doesn't work. And here's another thing too. People are like I will happily share the power and settings that I use with the Crystal Hearts. If I'm shipping you the Crystal Hearts, and especially if you're buying 10 or more and getting the free one, and we're going to do them pre-taped now if that's what you need. So you're getting them pre-taped, getting them a free one, and you get a free template. I don't know where my templates are at, but the templates come with them. They're pre-taped. Now they're ready to just set them in your template that comes with the box, and you got the power and speed settings, and you're using a 10-watt laser. I know it's going to work. And I know you're going to get good results from it if you follow instructions. But if you use your tape that's not the 201 plus by 3M, I don't know if it would have the same results or not. And if you're going to engrave drinking glasses, oh my, like this nasty pint glass, all glass and mirrors are not created equal. And you can get some that's thinner, like the picture frame glass. You can put too much heat in it and it'll crack under the heat of the laser. I seen someone in the Rolly Automation group this week. They were engraving a glass that they had painted with chalkboard paint, and the laser cracked, the heat from the laser cracked their glass while it was in the machine. So not all glass is created equal. You need to test it yourself and know what your speed and power setting is going to be. That's why I say with the crystals that I sell with your 10 watt and the tape, and I know it'll work. I don't have to second guess or unless you just don't follow instructions, it'll work. All right, I'm at the bottom of that. All right, now, marking my spot here. So Chris, the fellow from down under there, he sent an email this week. We were talking about the 4 nodes and the slots and tabs, and that's what you need in Lightburn for it to recognize it being either a slot or a tab. And that's why I put the extra node in places so Lightburn doesn't think that it's a slot when it's actually a tab. Well, he pointed out something which I already knew, but I haven't bothered to broach it because it doesn't happen that often, but it can happen, and you need to be able to recognize what's going on and how to correct it. And let me get this over here to Lightburn. Lightburn, open up. Okay, cancel that. So I don't know, Chris, if this design is something that you just created random piece to test the resize slots and selection tool and the theory of the 4 nodes, or if this is a piece of something that you were actually, I don't know why it would need to be shaped like this. And this is what I'm going to talk about and show, not just Chris. I think Chris did this intentionally to try and break the tool or find flaws with the tool or the theory of the 4 nodes. But when you're designing boxes or any shapes that require the use of slots and tabs, you can, if you're not careful, inadvertently create a slot or an area in your design that can be confused by Lightburn as a slot when it's not. And if you're not careful and you're not paying attention and you use the resize slots and selection tool and you think everything's going along great, fine, hunky-dory, and you didn't know that little piece was there, you didn't know what was going to happen, it'll ruin your whole piece. So, and Chris says, yeah, it was just a test piece. All right, so let me show you what he did. He this piece here, and being here on the corner right here, you don't have a 4th node down here, but you got 1 here and 1 here and 1 here. You got 3, but that's not 4 nodes. That's not a slot or a tab. But if you come over here, there's 4 nodes. That could be a slot, but then right beside of it, there's 4 nodes, and that could be a tab as far as Lightburn is concerned. Well, anything, right here's your outermost corner, and if you come up here to the top, let me get out of the nodes, come up here and put a toolpath on that corner right there. Anything that is below that line is a slot. Anything above it would be a tab. And that's how you can look at it at a glance and say, okay, well, none of these are tabs. These are all slots because they're all on the same parallel, or they're all even with that corner right there. Over here, he did some random stuff to try and just trip up the tool, and he did trip it up. So let's look at what we've got here. This is 3mm material, and that's 3mm. All right. So if I go into nodes, in fact, I need to fix something that I did for him or testing his theory. Delete. All right. So this is how he sent it to me. And if I go in here to tools and resize slots and selection, and we look at slot depth, 3 millimeters. Actually, I want to say old material is 3 mil, and we want to go to 5 mil. Slot depth and showing it's going to go larger. And that's correct. Those are slots. But if we look here, there it's now seeing these as tabs, but those are not tabs, and it should not recognize those as tabs. But Lightburn does. Lightburn is not intuitive enough to recognize slots or tabs. If it just meets certain criteria and parameters, it's going to recognize it as either or. And I've generally just said, hey, if you see 4 nodes and you don't want it, like in this case, you don't want it to be recognized as a tab, then you go into your node editing tool, and in between those 4 nodes, anywhere on this line, you can come way over here and put a node right here with the letter I, or you can come over here and use the letter M and put it right in the middle. And now you can't see that one because it's so close. And this is also how a lot of you say, well, Lightburn's not working. It's not, the resize tool's not working. I only see 4 nodes. Well, that's because right there, I only see 4 nodes. But if you zoom in close enough, you can see that one hiding right there. But now whenever I go to the resize slots and selection tool, it still sees my slots like I want to, but now it will not see those tabs. But here is what Chris pointed out. Lightburn, I stated it has to have 4 nodes because 4 nodes is easier for you to see when you're doing your design work. And if you're designing something, a box or a cube or a shape or anything that's going to be interlocking with slots and tabs, typically it's just 4 nodes. It's easy peasy. Just recognizing which is which and differentiating that with your additional nodes is a trick. But Lightburn doesn't have to have 4 nodes. It really just needs to have 2 right angles. And I can, if we look here, go back, and now we're going to tell it to do tools, resize, slots, and selection. We did slot depth and we did tab height, and we eliminated the tabs. But when we look at slot width, it recognizes this as a slot because this is a right angle and this is a parallel right angle. I say it has to have 2 right angles, but it has to have 2 parallel right angles. And now that recognizes this as a potential slot. And if you wanted to, you could change that, 8, apply, and that would then change and mess up your entire design. If that, in fact, was an intentional part of your design and that was a slot that you wanted to slide something into. So you have to be aware of that and how Lightburn recognizes slots and tabs. Because if it's something you're designing and you're like, okay, well, I want to save this and I might make it with 3 millimeter basswood, or I might make it with 4.5 millimeter lumber from Lowe's or Home Depot. If you're planning on doing that resizing, you need to be aware of how that tool works so that you don't create problems for yourself when designing. If you know that, and that's why I don't like to even have, in fact, let's look at this. This is a design that I'd helped Daryl with this week. Let's get rid of that. Actually, we'll just say new. File, new, open. Daryl was in the Rolly Automation group yesterday, I believe it was. And he was having a problem with this file that he purchased. And I'm going to bring this over here and I'm going to rotate it. And now I'm going to zoom in real tight here. And when you look at this right here, you look at this portion of it, here's your outer edge. It's coming along. And then boom, that's sticking out. That's sticking out. So here you have what appears to be tabs. And if we look at the measurement, right at 4 millimeter tabs, 3.89. But when we look real close, it's got those stinking loops in there. And this was done, whoever generated this file made it, and it is a nice file. And that's what I told Daryl. Listen, this is not disparaging remarks about the design or the quality of the work. It's just a file that is not Lightburn friendly. And the box generators like boxes.py, if you're not, there is a place where you can unselect the inner loops. And if you see that, if you're using box.py and you're not aware of what they're talking about on where it says inner loops or corners, always check corners and not inner loops, because that's what it generates with an inner loop. And what that's supposed to do, I guess, is on some of your lasers, it allows you to maintain more speed because it's not having to slow down and stop. It's just zooming through that corner. Instead of a corner, it's just making a loop and keeping going. But you've got those inner loops, and then also you got down here radius on these. And a radius, when we look at the nodes, you've got one node up here, but that loop messes things up. But then down here, we've got a radius, a node beginning and ending at the corner of each of the radius. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 nodes right there. And that prevents Lightburn from seeing that as a node or as a slot or a tab. But when I scroll out and look, with that being protruding, that looks like those are tabs, right? Well, here's the problem that, and what I try to avoid when I'm designing my own boxes or anything that I'm using finger joints with. If I take this and scroll down here to this end of it, it's the same piece. I just went to this end. Well, now these look like those are slots because they're inside there, but so that's inside. So technically that's inside too. That's a slot with a funny ending place with the way that the the living hinge goes on there and wraps around. But there was a whole lot more issues with this piece as well. If I put this back to, there we go. If we select just that, see down here, this is not closed. That's a separate piece. And so you have to be very, very careful of products that you buy online from Etsy and other file creators. I strongly recommend, if you're going to purchase a file from someone else, contact that designer and ask them point blank, is this Lightburn friendly? This is if you are a beginning laserologist, if you're kind of a newbie and you're still figuring things out and you're not real good with troubleshooting and fixing all these problems and idiosyncrasies with these files, and you're depending on it to work with Lightburn and Lightburn's tools, then ask them, are your files Lightburn friendly? Do you guarantee them to work with Lightburn's tools? And if they don't give you an emphatic yes, I wouldn't buy the file unless you're good at fixing all the problems. And there will be problems. All right. So let's look at design. Or actually, let me go down through the comments here. We go back to my spot where I mark my spot. Where's my mark? I can't sign my name. I have to just make a mark. Okay, there's that. Seen that. Where's my mark? There it is. Okay. The tape tube will have a model number of the tape, not on mine. Mine, this large tube, I guess I don't know if because it's typically not for regular retail, I guess. They don't bother printing up the tubes. The smaller tubes, yeah, they'll usually have some printing on the inside, but this is 3M brand, and it is the 201 Plus. 201 Plus. It works so good with lasers that I actually contacted 3M and their R&D department to try and make them aware of how well this works with engraving glass with a diode laser, that they're missing a huge market. They could be marketing this as laser tape and sell it, for twice the money, because once you have a specialty product, it's got a specialty price. I sell the crystals, Jeremy. If you go to hobowithwood.com, hobowithwood.com, the homepage will have, turn your comment off there. The homepage will have all of my latest uploads, and like I just uploaded that one tonight. But if you go to the laser blanks, these are the laser blanks that I currently have. I've actually got more. I just haven't had time to get them online. But these are the crystal hearts. And I've currently got 249 left of them. I had a little over 300 of them and sold quite a bit after last week's live stream. And the special is you buy 10 hearts, you get one free. So you actually get 11 for the price of 10. And in addition to getting that, because these hearts, if you haven't seen one, let me grab it. In addition to being, and when you get them, they come double sleeve or in a sleeve. So the gift box is protected. And inside the gift box is what you see pictured. And which one am I showing you? You're seeing me, right? Yeah, you're seeing me. So inside the gift box, it's in a satin lined piece there, but it's it's wedge shaped. So it's thicker on one end, and that can be a problem when you're engraving. It's got to be level when you're engraving that laser surface. So I've made these jigs that the laser or the heart will sit in, and there's a little place on the end that when that's sitting on your laser bed, and they're snug, they're intentionally a snug fit, because you don't want something that you're having to, it's got play in your jig. You want your jigs tight. But once that's in there and the bottom sits down, it's now sitting, a level engraved surface. Well, purchase of 10 or more, you get the free one, and you get the jig, both the physical jig and the digital file. So all you've got to do is place this in your corner home position of your laser, drop the crystal in, and import the digital file in there, lay in your artwork, and start engraving. All right. So there's that. And put that up so it don't get messed up. All right. Now, Chris says, I found that cheaper glass works better than most expensive glass in most cases. It is a fine line. I get really good results with those pint glasses that I get from the dollar store. That's what these are. Go to the Dollar Tree and you get them for $1.25, and they're pretty thick and they engrave well. The thinner the glass, like I've tried to do some of the picture frame glass, and it's so thin that with the amount of heat you need to put into the glass to create the microfractures, that once it creates a microfracture, it'll just shatter the glass. So it does, depending on what you're doing, some testing, it can be required. Let's see. What is the box on the laser? As I was late. What is the box on the laser? Oh, that's the file I just showed on the home page. That's a design. I go back to home, scroll up, home. That's this split lid box. I designed this week, and it's kind of cool. Why didn't that load? It didn't load. There it is. It's a double-sided lid. You can open one or both artwork. on it, but that's just this week's work. I've been playing with boxes and cubes this week, and I wanted to challenge myself, and boy, was that a challenge. Yeah. You can get down in some mess trying to fix other people's work. I enjoy the challenge of doing it, and I imagine you do too, because it also brings to my attention the problems that are out there with the files, and it makes it easier for me to help folks that end up getting that same file again from some, down the road. I don't do moon pies, Johnny. Never have liked moon pies. I don't like marshmallows in general. The only way I'll eat a marshmallow is if it's melted with my Rice Krispies into Rice Krispie treats. What's the best way to eliminate those loops and radiuses? Make your own boxes. Don't use box generators. If you don't use box generators, you won't have that problem. And if you're buying files from someone else that already has them in there, it's a problem to clean up. If Daryl's in the stream, he can tell you. He and I connected, and I helped show him, and he learned a lot just in a brief conversation, and he was able to clean the file up himself and was able to create a good finished piece. But the best way to avoid them is make your own boxes. And we're going to get there. V says, I bought an Etsy file, and it was all little dashes. I figured it out. Took a while, though. A lot of little dashes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do. All right. I'm going to mark my spot. Now, let's switch gears for a second and go make a, no marshmallows, no s'mores for it. No, Chris says, I wish Etsy would, I would make design seller state which software files were created with. Yeah, the best bet. I started on Etsy as a seller, but it's not even a good place to go sell your files. If someone is making quality files like I do, I am not going to have my file out there competing with someone who's selling a file that looks exactly like my file, but not made in Lightburn, and it's loaded with problems, and they're selling theirs for 99 cents, and I'm selling mine for $5.99. People ain't gonna buy mine for $5.99 because they can get one that looks just like it for 99 cents. Well, it looks like it. Don't mean anything just because it looks like it, and you're seeing a digital. And another thing I will caution you guys about: when people are selling you digital files, and all you see is a SVG or a rendering of what the file looks like, I wouldn't buy it. If you look at my homepage and any of my designs that I have created, I have photos of physical pieces of every single file. If I go to my digital files page, there we go. There's no digital imagery, or there's no AI pictures of what the project will look like. It's an actual piece that I've created, because I will not put my file on my website for sale until I've tested it myself and know that it works. And that's why I can guarantee that it's going to work in Lightburn and have no problems, or I'll give you your money back, because I've already done it. I know it works. So I ain't being full of myself by saying, hey, it's Lightburn friendly, but I know it does because I've already done it. All right. Now, Chris, you're quick to respond with your fingers. I'm talking to you, Chris. You listening? Give me a number between 6 and 10. Give me a number between 6 and 10. Get Lightburn open. There we go. And clear that away. Go away. New. And I was just bragging on Chris and about paying attention, and now he ain't paying attention. All right. First person, get anybody, put in a number. Chris got it. Chris got 8. All right. So I'm going to do an 8-sided box or an octagon. So these are so simple to do. You're in Lightburn. You have your tools over here. You've got your pencil tool, your square, circle, and then this is your polygon tool. And if you select your polygon tool, come over here to your work area, hold your shift button, and draw out a perfect polygon. If you're not holding shift, then it can be elongated and irregular. It'll be an irregular polygon. Holding shift requires it to maintain its aspect ratio and creates a perfect polygon or a PP. Create a PP on your screen. All right. Now, let's put that in a line mode. Now, that is a 6-sided shape, and somebody smarter than me. What is 8-sided is octagon? What and hexagon? Is it a hexagon? No, hexagon's 5. What's 6? Septagon? I don't know. Anyway, once you've used your polygon tool to create your perfect polygon, you want to use your shape properties. And I've got my shape properties tab down here, but if you don't have a shape properties tab, if you go into your window menu and come down here, you'll have shape properties, and you turn that on and it'll populate that menu. And then, and right now you see that's blank because I don't have a shape selected. You have to select a shape, and then you'll get your window over here to what you can do to it. And you can change all of these parameters of your shape. And I want to go from a 6-sided shape to an 8-sided shape. So there, now I've got an octagon. All right. So now I've just, I thought all multi-sides were polygons. Anything that wasn't a square or a triangle, I thought it was a polygon. 6 is a hexagon, 5 is a pentagon. Okay, yeah. So polygon is just anything that's got more than 4 sides. And hexagon is 6. 5 is pentagon. Okay. All right. So here we have a octagon. Now, the problem that you run into when you're doing polygon boxes is when you go to put your side pieces on, if you use the measurement of that one side, that if you use the measurement of this side of the octagon in this case, when you go to put your material together, they'll butt up into each other. And I'm going to show you that, and I'm going to show you how simple this is to create these boxes. These are some of the easier boxes to do. And it doesn't matter how many sides. If I took this shape right, or this measurement of this shape, and I look right there, and it is 45.78 millimeters right there, 45.78 millimeters. And if I'm using, we'll say we're using 3 millimeter material. What was it? 45.78, I think, and 3 millimeters. 45.78. Yep. All right. So there is a cross section, or looking if this was going to be the piece that fits right there, let's put it right in the corner. If this was the side piece that goes there, and I'm looking at it from the top down, here's the cross section. If I duplicate that, Control D, duplicate it, and rotate it, put that right there in that corner, you see what happens? You get interference. The pieces will butt up into each other, and it will not work. And when I first started creating my own polygon shaped boxes, as always, I made things a whole lot more complicated than they needed to be to figure out how to get that clearance. This is the easy part. Now I know it's the easy part. Before you start worrying about any of that sides, if this is the size you want that box to be, now you need to create your sides. and you're going to be using 3 millimeter. No, let's say what? Let's say you're going to go and make it out of Lowe's material and it's 4.7 millimeters. Well, select your polygon, in this case, your octagon, come in here to an offset, and whatever the material thickness is going to be, in this case, we're going to do 4.7 millimeters. Do an inward offset with corners. Do not delete your original, and select the resulting shapes and say, okay, go ahead and put that on toolpath because that's just a toolpath when it's not the actual wood. But now you've got an inward offset, the thickness of your material. And if we take our ruler and measure that side, it's 41.89. .89 and 4.7 millimeters thick. And if I pop that, and in fact, we'll make that solid. We'll put that right there. And we'll pop it in here. I'm sorry, come on, get in there. Right, I'm on. Right there. Now duplicate that, Control D, duplicate it, rotate it, and pop it in over here. Control D, duplicate it, rotate it. See there? It's going to work. And there, that tells you what your width of your pieces need to be. You don't have any interference. You're going to have that open piece there. And depending on what kind of wood you're making it with and how you want your finished piece to look, if you want to do what I tried to do with the LED box I did for Micah's heart, go back here and go back here. And which one do I want? Oh, this one. Open up. And I want to bring you over here. Now, switch again. There, you can see a little bit of light through there. But I tried to make that as tight as I possibly could make it. Wrong way again. But you see, there's a little bit of bleed through because I did not get it super, super tight. But I got it tight enough that I didn't have what I consider to be an excessive amount. Now, this box, I wanted to leave it open. Because what I ended up doing with this box is I created a foam pillow and wrapped it in red satin and stuffed it in here so you could actually see the red satin pillow through those cracks. And I'm using Paduke here, and it's all out of focus. But depending on what look you're wanting, you might intentionally leave a gap there. And then what I also did with this one is I took my side piece, before I put it into place, and I used a 1/4 round router bit on both sides. So these are rounded over on each side of it. Now, did you see the screw up? I did all this work on this thing, and this thing turned out really nice. And I've got, we'll focus it. There we go. That was Paduke, or is Paduke inlay in there. And then I've got their name and their anniversary date. And then when I was gluing it together, I wasn't paying attention. And I glued that sucker in upside down, and I did it with super glue. So that meant making a second box because there was no getting this apart. So pay attention when you're assembling because that was a lot of work right down the drain. But now back to the box. Actually, you know what? Before I do that, let's look and see questions and comments. Go to my spot. Okay. Nope. We got that. Comments about which the different types of names for the wood shapes. Chuck learned something. Hey, Chuck. Thank you for your support, Chuck. Place my order for the heart paperweights. Excellent. Now, V, do you want yours pre-taped or do you have tape? Tell me that here. In fact, put some exclamation points on there. And yes, I want pre-taped. and I will make sure that that's done. Uh, ba, ba, ba. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Oh, you just lost your corner. Oh, okay, intentional. Holy moly, I want that file. I just placed an order. How do we find where we purchased files from you previously? Uh, you should have created an account, and you should be. I do not have the downloads limited, so when you're in your account on my website, to my knowledge, you can always go back there and download it again. But if you can't find it and you can't get it to download again, I can see your purchase history and I can send it to you again if need be. But I recommend that when you're downloading files from me or anybody else, that you're organizing these, you're putting them in a folder and knowing where you can go back and grab them. And because, the reason I say that is I do not limit you on how many times you can download it. But what happens if my website crashes? And you've purchased $200 worth of files from me, and now my website's crashed and I can't get anything back up. And it's kind of your responsibility to keep those downloads organized and accessible. But I'll be happy to, if you can't find it, if you've got a problem, I can send it to you. But you need to be in the habit of organizing and keeping those where you can get them. What if you make a jig that mounts the piece at the required angle so the laser cuts it at? What if you make a jig that mounts the piece at the required angle so the laser cuts the outside width on one side and the inside width? Yeah, this is where the Q&As get muddy. I have no idea what you're talking about, Carl. I'm completely lost on that question. This is it might make perfect sense the way you've got it worded to you, but I don't follow what you're asking. Or you're not understanding the visualization I've created there. I don't follow you there. Reword it, or does anybody else understand what he's saying and can help me help him? And V says yes, pre-taped. Okay. All right, I'll make sure I tape yours up. Chris says if you go into orders, you can re-download from there or from there. Carl is talking about making the jig. No, I don't think he's talking about the jig for the. Carl is talking about making a jig for the miter. For what miter? He's talking about cutting the edge of the box panels on an angle. Yeah. You. You're talking about making a jig to cut. Now I'm with you. Okay. There has been rumors. I've never seen it, but there has been rumors that other laser makers have made jigs that will put the wood at the proper angle so the laser can then cut that and create the miter with the laser. I've never seen it done for the amount of work that would be required to do that. And then if you're going to do like here with polygon boxes, when going back to 9th grade geometry, your angles, a circle has 180 degrees. And on a polygon box, all of your angles have to total 180 degrees, right? That's why on a square, you've got 360 degrees. 360 degrees in a circle. So your angles have to total 360 degrees. So 490s is 360. On a pentagon, 360 divided by 5 would be all of your angles. So if you were going to do or have the ability to make multiple-sided boxes, you'd have to have a miter or a jig for each one of those possible angles. And if you're going to do all that, do it with a table saw. I wouldn't bother trying to do it with a laser. And you can get a really cool look. And this one I did, like I said, I did the quarter round on here and left the gap in there. And with that satin pillow that was in there that filled that up, and you could see that red satin in there with the Paduke, it looked sharp. It looked really, really incredible. And this piece, I intentionally left all the burnt caramelized edges on it, and that looked really good, in my opinion. And having the double base, and we're going to show you all that. We're going to go through this whole design. But is it this way? Nope. Or is it? Yep. Yeah. One more. I want the pro. There we go. Having a top plate and a bottom plate that hides all of your finger joints and makes it for a real clean finish. And that, I like that. That appealed to me. So all right. Dun 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 dun. Mark. All right, marked. Now back to Lightburn. Lightburn and switch. So by creating an offset, if this is the actual box you're going to make, and if we, in fact, we'll round this up to come on now, lock my aspect ratio until it 114.3 millimeters. Delete that. Put my, let's see, and so 114.3 millimeters is 4.5 inches. So offset this, and I'm going to do it 4.7 millimeters. That's the thickness of the wood from Lowe's on average, 4.7, 4.6. And then measure that right there, and that would be the length of your side piece, and it's 43, 45. $43.45, and it's unlocked, and it's 4.7 mil. And I backed up so that anybody that's just joining them, they're not coming in the middle of this design. But there's what one piece would be. And now if I hold that right there and hold my shift button and select the offset I created, use the circular array until 8 pieces and say, okay, that puts them all right in place. And you can see how that needs to line up. And you see, you can check your clearance everywhere. Everything would fit and go together with no problem. And by doing it exactly that length, even if you adjust for your kerf, it should fit together very snugly and very tightly. If you don't adjust for your kerf when you're cutting out, you'll have just the tiniest bit more gap between those pieces. Depending on what type of wood you're using and how much burning of the material takes place when you're cutting it is going to determine the size of that gap. And if you wanted to make it super, super, super tight and you didn't want to have to do any other machining or anything to it, you might just do 2 test pieces. Cut 2 test pieces and fit them together and see how close they work. But you need them a little bit longer, great. Just add a 1/2 mil or 2/10 of a mil, whatever. But now you've got the sides, the length of your sides determined. Now, if I undo that rotation I just did, there's one piece. Well, that's obviously not one piece. That's just the profile, the top-down profile, the cutaway section. Duplicate that and bring it down here so I've got that. I'm going to use that piece now to actually determine what my slot size is going to be. And if this is 43.45, I'm just going to come up here with the aspect ratio unlocked, come right in that field, that measurement field, and use my division sign divided by 3. And if you look right now, I've got my anchor point in the bottom center, and I say, okay, it's going to work no problem because I was in the center. But if you get an unwanted result, if you got this selected and you're not paying attention, and you've got your anchor point up here in this top left, and you divide that by 3, see what happens? It pulled that off to the left side of that perimeter of that shape. It actually pulled it to the top left, which was right here. So when you're changing and you've got your part positioned, if that's exactly where you want it to be, it is crucial that you have your anchor point in the center. And now you can divide that by 3, put that on a cut path. And now you've got a decision to make. Do you want to have that like I did here? If you see the bottom, I've got those pieces right out at the edge of it. And that's the look I wanted for this one. When I did the LED box, I didn't do it that way. Oh, yeah, you're back to me. There we go. Back to what I did was, this was a toolpath to determine the length of that side. I turned this into a toolpath, and then I did an outward offset of 4.7 millimeters. Do not delete the original and select the outer shape, say okay, and put that on a cut path. Now that is what I would cut out. It would have my slot inset from the edge 4.7 millimeters. So it's going to have a nice balance to it. And then also, if I want to have a bottom plate and or a top plate, I'm just going to do another offset of the 4.7 millimeters and pull that over here. That won't have any slots or tabs in it. That's just going to be the top and bottom plate that it will help cover everything up. Now I can select that slot, hold my shift key, and use the circular array, 8 copies, and it'll put all those slots right where they need to be. And if I take they group those, yep, and group and select that, there's your top and bottom plate. This was the width, or the total width of that piece. Now, how tall do you want the box to be? You know, do you want it to be, 1.25 inches, 25 mil, or do you want it to be 50 mil? So we're going to do it 35 mil tall. And here you need to do some thinking about your design. Do you want it to be overall 50 mil tall? And if you want it to be 50 mil tall, then you need to do a lot of math to compensate for all of the plate they're going to snap into, plus the cosmetic top and bottom plate, which was 4.7 mil times 2 top and bottom. So if you don't want to get a calculator out and you're not a math genius, you can use that tool, or the calculator ability in Lightburn, to do all the math for you. I've got that selected, and it's the right width of 40. The width is 47.45, but now I need to change the height. The material is 4.7, but now I'm working with how tall I want this to be. And if I come in here and tell it I want it to be overall 50 mil, well, there's my overall height, but I don't want that piece to be 50 mil because I got 2 other plates on there, or 4 other plates on there, 4.7. So I can say 50 mil, subtract 4.7 equals, subtract 4.7 equals, subtract 4.7 equals, subtract 4.7 equals. And that would give me, the height of that piece. And I need to ungroup, or actually I can just, can I get one of those? No, I got to ungroup it and just grab one of them, Control D, duplicate that, and tell it to come over here and come to the center. And now that's centered up. If I arrow it up and then hold my shift and select that and do Alt Shift V for vertical, it'll put it right down there. And there's always another way, right? You can get that other one down there using the circular array, or doing a Control D duplicate and move it around. The circular array is pretty cool, even on doing tabs, because now I can say, all right, there's my tab, hold my shift and select that box, use the circular array. Now I only want 2 copies. And it puts it right down there, and it puts it right on the edge. I don't have to worry about the alignment. It's done. And if you select there, I did, group them and select them when it was done. If I undo that You can also just say, okay, say Control D, duplicate it, bring it down here to the bottom. I didn't duplicate it. Alt Shift V to put it back up to, actually, you know what? Undo. We'll just undo. There we go. Control D, duplicate, and now bring it down. Hold my Shift V button and select that, and Alt Shift V again, and that'll bring it up. There's always more than one way to do this. So I'm seeing a lot of numbers in here. That's good. A lot of folks learning stuff. I love seeing numbers. I love seeing numbers. Do you have the basic octagonal box file available to purchase if someone wants it? I have not, simply because I'll show you why. Because that's another thing to think. Because it's extremely easy to set this up and do this. You really simple. But there's a problem with these boxes. Polygon boxes have an inherent built-in flaw about them. And I'm going to show you that and why I would suggest, if you're going to be doing them, just do this. It's real simple. It's really simple. And practice doing them, and you can just do them, and you can do them quicker, and you can go and find it and download it. And coupon not working on the split box lid. Okay. Let me fix that right now. Website, edit. I forgot to designate it as a digital file. Update. Refresh. Sort by latest. And there it is. Okay. Sorry about that, Chris. It should be working now. I'm doing a medium-sized order. Thanks to your teachings. It is a piece of cake to design small. Thank you for the lessons. Is it? Yes, it is it's a piece of cake to design. All right, now back. So, let me finish showing you this and show you the inherent flaws or problems with these types of boxes. Lightburn, back here, switch. So now put that on a cut path. Weld those together, weld these together. So there would be a side piece that you could cut out of the same 4.7 material that would snap in there. Of course, you're going to duplicate these, and you have one top, one bottom, and you have a cover plate for the top and bottom. But here is the problem with these files. I'm going to come back in here and let's see. Node editing. Delete those. Put that back to 4.7 millimeter. Put it on the black layer. And now pop that. Actually, you know what? We'll take that and tell it to go to the center of that. All right. So there is where that piece would sit. In fact, let's go ahead and duplicate all those. Circular array 8 times. Okay. Now, those are in there. That's what that box would be. And if I had this basic file for 4.7 millimeter octagon shaped box available for you to download, and you weren't making it with 4.7 millimeter wood, you're going to make it with 3mm wood. Check out what happens. You can use the resize slots and selection tool with Lightburn to do this. In fact, I'm going to put, I'm going to turn this off for a second. Turn that off. So now I've got that, and these are 4.7. If I come up here to tools, resize slots and selection, my old material thickness is 4.7 millimeters. My new material thickness is 3 millimeters. I'm doing slot width, and that's going to change all my slots. That's going to give me my new 3mm slot. Apply. Done. And that's going to work. No problem. Say okay. Now let's turn this back on so you can see these. Now I'm going to go to the same tool, select all that, go back there, and these are slots. And they are let's see. I need to turn that on there where I can see them. Put those in a different path. Hold my shift button and click on that black layer. Selects all the black items. Is that align mode? Nope. What the heck? We'll put it on red. You can see the difference. Oh, the reason it didn't do it is because they're grouped. And this, switch. This is a good learning opportunity. I was trying to use the resize slots and shapes tool, and I wasn't paying attention to the warnings on the screen. If I did, I would have seen this. But some of you tried to use the technique that I showed in yesterday's video about designing the perfect cube, and the resize slots tool wouldn't work. Wouldn't work. It's because you had everything grouped. Lightburn's resize slots and selection tool will not recognize items in a group. Right now, that group is all I have selected. If I go to tools, resize slots and selection, it tells you right there, your selection contains the following unsupported items, grouped shapes. Anytime the resize slots and selection tool will not work in Lightburn, it'll tell you why. It'll tell you you've got open shapes. It'll tell you you have lines. It'll tell you, in this case, group shapes. If there's an issue and it's not working, if you pay attention and read that down there in that bottom, like I didn't do, don't do as I did, do as I say. It'll tell you why it's not working. So now let's ungroup that, cancel that, ungroup. Now go into tools, resize slots and selection. We're going from the 4.7 millimeter to 3 millimeter material. See how everything lines up, and I've got my corners right on corners, and I tell it to resize, apply. Now it creates a gap there. So if you went to all the trouble to design this to make that gap as tight as possible, and you don't want to see any bleed through with the lights, if you're doing this as a lighted box, or if you don't, whatever you're doing, if you don't want to see any gap in between those edges, you want it as tight as possible, then you cannot use the resize slots and shape tool, because it resizes your material from both sides, and that brings that back wall where everything was nice and tight. It brings it, outward and away from its neighboring corner. So that's why I did not upload that box and make it available. Ding! Light bulb. What I will do, because I made that box out of 6 millimeter solid maple that I had here. So when I designed it with 6 millimeter slots. And so if I made that exact same box available to you, it ain't going to work unless you have 6 millimeter wood. Started to say I'd be happy to share that with people. But typically, the only reason I had 6 millimeter maple is I had, 5/4 maple here that I processed myself and kept running it through the bandsaw and then through the planer and got it down to 6 mil. I don't think you can go buy 6 mil. So that design that I have isn't going to be good for anybody except somebody with 6 mil material, and or they're willing to accept that it's going to have larger gaps between the material, because it works the other way too. Check this out. if you designed this, let's go back. There we go. If you designed it nice and tight and your corners fit really good, and now you're going to go and this was done with 4.7 millimeter material. Let's say I tried to use it with my 6 millimeter material, resize slots and selections, slot width. I'm going from 4.7 to 6 millimeter material and apply. Now you've got interference issues. It won't fit together. It won't work. These are very, very simple boxes to create. So, and when I was going to, if I'm going to make a polygon box of any number of sides, what size do I need my box to be? Draw out a perfect polygon, do inward offset of material thickness I'm going to be. There's going to give me my length of my side. Create that, divide that by 3 for one slot. It's piece of cake. In fact, oh, wow. Thank you, Brad. Thank you. Bless you, sir. Much appreciated. Very much appreciated. Chris got a comment, but that's directed at Richard. Okay. For anybody, and we've had a few that's checked out, there might be some few that have just chimed in, but I'm going to go through this so fast to show you why it's not a problem to create these boxes on the fly and not even have to worry about having it saved. Now, if you're like me and you're working primarily with the 3 millimeter Baltic birch, you might save that because you're using that as the majority of your material. But the problem with that is my 3 millimeter Baltic birch, sometimes it's 2.6, sometimes it's 3.1. So how tight do I want it to be? Well, let's jump over here to Lightburn. Delete. Hold my shift key, draw out a perfect. This time I'm doing 6 sides. And let's do this one 5 inches, 127 mil. And I didn't have the aspect ratio locked, so undo that, lock that back. 127 mil. That gives me a perfect 6-sided polygon. And now I want that to be the actual dimensions of the first plate. And I'm going to be making this out of 3 millimeter material. So I'm going to do an inward offset of 3 mil. Do not delete the original. Make sure you're using corners, because if you're using a round or a beveled corner, it will mess up what your measurement needs to be. So corners, okay, put that on toolpath. And now I can use that to say measurement 60.4. 60.4 or 60.04 or 60.4. 60.04. That's what I had. 60.04 and 3 mil. So there's Control D. I'm going to duplicate that. That's a toolpath. I'm going to park it right in place. And it's important that you put it with that corner and not this corner, because that's the length of your side. Now I've got 60.04. Just going to divide that. This time I'm going to do it by 5 instead of dividing by 3. This time I want 2 tabs. If I want 2 tabs, then I need 3 spaces, one on either side and one in the middle. So if you want 2 tabs, you divide it by 5. Double your number and add 1. If you wanted 3 tabs, then you would divide it by 7. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. So double your number of tabs and add 1 for equal spacing. I want 2 tabs this time. So I've got my overall width, and I'm going to divide it by 5. Divide it by 5. Put that on cut path. There is my slot. Select, hold and shift, select that inner piece and do a circular array. And this time it's 6 pieces. And say, okay. That just put my slots in place. And now if I want to create that offset outward, do that same 3 millimeters. And this time I am going to delete the original. So there, that gives me my 3mm space. I'll go ahead and go right back to my offset tool and do another 3mm. You know what? This time I think I might do 6 for that lower piece and say, okay. Oh, don't want to delete the original. Undo. Offset. Do not delete. Done. Move that over here out the way. There's the bottom and topmost outermost cosmetic plate. There's the profile I generated for my side piece. How big do I want it? How tall do I want it to be? Well, the height here is 3, but that's actually not the right height. I want it to be overall 30 mil. So 30 mil is my my overall height. But this time I've got 4 pieces of 3mm wood. So that's 12 millimeters. So I can just say 30, subtract 12. And that right there, plus take that tab, ungroup it so I can grab 1, duplicate that, bring it down here, align it to the center, and Alt-Shift-V. And then I can even go to the circular array and tell it 2 copies and select, group and select, hold Shift and weld it. And there I have a side piece and I need 6 of those. Go to my array tool. I want 2 columns and 3 rows. And okay. So that quick, I just created the top cosmetic and bottom cosmetic piece, the inner piece for everything to fit into, and all 6 pieces. So making polygon, and actually I didn't do my division right. I didn't do the right number of slots on that one. I screwed that up in my design in my haste to try and do this for you. But you see, if I didn't screw it up, it's actually very easy. And that would still work. I just have 1 tab instead of 2 like I planned. In fact, you know what? That's another good, and this is another opportunity to show you and explain these tools to you. I had the hardest time trying to interpret how Lightburn justified the image for these tools. I'm like, this makes no sense to me whatsoever. I could not fathom what those were representing. But let's show you the distribute tools. I showed you using them in the perfect cube video, but I finally sunk into me. And this will be an opportunity to show you how to use those here as well. So looking here for questions and comments. I have never messed with kerf stuff yet. Guess I'm going to learn because I want to make that for those hearts. I've got, if you have not watched my video on finding your perfect kerf, you need to watch that to fully understand how the diode laser works and how your kerf is. It's actually different on your X and Y axis with a diode laser. And you watch that video. It's all self-explanatory in the video. Finding your perfect kerf with a diode laser. Yep, John, I wanted to do 2. I screwed it up. Chris says email sent. All right. Is it something I need to open pertaining to you want to talk about in this stream? I'm going to go back now and undo and fix. Actually, I won't even undo. I'm just going to fix those. I wanted 2 slots in there, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to fix that. Back here, I could undo, but I'm not going to do that because I'm too far along. I don't want to get rid. Actually, I do need to get rid of these. I'm going to undo to there. And now I can select this, go into node editing, and just select those nodes and hit the letter D to get rid of those. And now here, I've got one of those selected. If I take that and I put it, I'm on my selector tool. There we go. And I dock that right there. That total length is 12.08. I come in here to my move tabs, units and grids, my arrow movement, 12.08. So that distance is the same as the width. Say, okay. One movement of my arrow will put that right there. And I hit Control D and hit it twice, and that'll put those right in the perfect position. So they are centered up within that line right there. Then I can take both of those, group them, Control D, duplicate them, move them down here, grab all of those and the delete button, then select that group, hold my shift key, select that toolpath, and use my circular array tool again. This time I'm doing 6 copies. 5, 6, there we go. Done. And I was going to show you the distribute tool, but the move, since I was only doing 2, the move control there was the easiest way to do that. Mark says, I will never use a box generator again after learning about using the circular array for placing tabs. You're welcome. Yeah, man, it's it's so simple. You box generator. In fact, it's so simple that, and I don't know enough about coding and programming, but I would think that it wouldn't be that difficult for Lightburn to have a built-in box generator. I wouldn't think it would be that difficult. But let's look at these distribute tools, because these are extremely handy tools that work hand in hand with generating tabs and slots and spacing with the boxes. And let's mark my spot. And get you back over here to Lightburn. Well, we'll stay with this shape right here. I'm going to come in here, ungroup those. I'm going to, did I not ungroup them far enough? Nope. Ungroup them again. I'm going to delete all of them. We'll delete both of those. Not all of them, but yeah, we are. We're going to delete them all. What is he doing? He don't know. We're going to get rid of all those. Delete them. All right. So starting over, let's come back here. What was it? 40.08 or 60.4? 60.04. .04 is the width, and we'll do 3 mil. And I'm going to put that right there for right now. So there's one great big slot. We don't want one great big slot. Let's do, this time we want to do, if it's 60 mil, we're going to do, we'll do 3 tabs. No, let's do 4 tabs to show you this tool even better. We're going to do 4 tabs. So if I'm going to do 4 tabs, I need how many spaces? 4 times 2 plus 1. I need 9 spaces. So I'm going to come up there to the 60.04 and just divide it by 9. And with my anchor point in the middle, it drew it right into the center right there. But now I can see that that was 6.671. If I bring that and put it right there on the corner, 6.671, I go to my move tab and change that to 6.671. And I now just arrow over one time. That puts that in the proper position of equal distance from that corner. And I wanted 4 tabs. Did I do that right? I'm going to say Control D. I got 1, so duplicate 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Now I've got 4 of those stacked right on top of each other. The topmost piece is selected. If I arrow that over, and then I can grab it and put it right here on the corner. And now that I've got that on the corner, I use my arrow tool to arrow it over the exact distance that I need it to be from that corner. So that's properly spaced from that corner. These, even though they're all stacked on top of each other, it's the right distance from this corner. Up here is your distribution tools. Now, those images, those representations, those tools drove me nuts until yesterday. I never understood them, and I'm going to make them larger or recreate those on the screen here because they're so small to see here. Let's do that one. If I get a tool, I draw this out, and then I draw out that. Align those to center and Alt-Shift-H, and then Control-D, duplicate that, bring that over here, and mirror that. So that group, that right there, if I put that all on the black layer, there you go. That is, and actually it's not filled, it's in an outline. Undo. I'll offset those inward. I'm just trying to, I'm being a little bit crazy right now, but there we go. If that's kind of what this distribution tool looks like up here. And this one, Control-D, duplicate it, rotate it, bring it over here. That's what this tool looks like up here. Now, I could not, for the life of me, because of my right brain, left brain, I didn't understand this, what that represented. And I'm going to try to explain it to you the way I finally figured it out. These larger rectangles, if I ungroup it all, these are your actual pieces. So in this case, it would be that tab and this tab. So there's 1 and 2. There's 1 and 2. And it's the distance between this tab or this block and this block horizontally. They're spaced apart from each other. And if you look at the description up here, it tells you distribute selected objects horizontally with even spaces between them. So here it's talking about spaces between these two pieces horizontally, because they're horizontally away from each other. Here is a piece. Here's a piece. This one, if you hover over it, distribute objects vertically with even spaces between them. So this would distribute them up and down from each other, or vertically with even spaces between them. The other two that are up there have those in the center like that. Group, put that in the center. So that's going to distribute them horizontally, but not with even spaces between them. If we look at that and the description, distribute objects horizontally on centers. Well, I have calculated the distance between them to all be whatever that was, 4 point, whatever it was, 6 point, whatever it was. So I needed that equal distance between them. So I can use that tool. I've got one copy right here that's properly spaced. I've got several copies right here stacked on top of each other, all of them properly spaced. But because I have set the parameters for this is the far left extreme, this is the far right extreme, if I just select all those and then come up here and tell it to distribute them horizontally with even spaces between them, that pops out all those slots right where they need to be. And now you can group them. Group those, hold shift, do your circular array. And now you've got those done. You could ungroup those now and duplicate that, bring it down here, align it to center. And that's always make sure that you've got everything lined up. Alt-Shift-V, vertical, circular array, 2 times, or not grid array, circular array, 2 copies. Okay, hold shift, select that, and weld them together. And I wish Lightburn wouldn't do this. Those were perfectly aligned, but it did not weld those three. It welded that one, but it didn't like that one. So undo. And you can compensate for that by simply ungrouping. These are all grouped and they worked. You can weld them. These didn't all work. So use your arrow key and I do control arrow. That's my smallest movement. That's going to move them up obviously way too far, but holding shift, weld those into place. And now whatever that height needed to be, I can look and see it was supposed to be 3 mil. I can use the resize slots and selection tool to change my tab height from whatever that was, 2.5, there we go, to 3 mil and apply. And that will fix those. And then use my grid array, 2 columns and 3 rows. There's all my sides. There's all my tabs. There's the top and the bottom. Don't need those. Go away. And I don't need those. Go away. But these are so simple to make. They're actually simpler to do than cubes and boxes. Let's see here. I've seen some comments here. Kizzy. Hey, Kizzy. I don't recognize your name. I don't know if how new you are to the Hobo with Wood group, but thank you for tuning in tonight and commenting. I have looked at SketchUp and I've played with it a little. I know Steve Ventari, he uses SketchUp. I'm pretty sure that's a good one of his go-tos. But as I said earlier in the stream, if you were here, I tried to design everything in Lightburn. And that's so that because I sell my designs. That's how I support myself. And I'm catering to Lightburn users because it's a big audience. And for me to be able to tell people beyond a shadow of a doubt that my files are Lightburn friendly and they'll work with all the tools, and by me designing strictly with Lightburn, I don't have to go in and fix a lot of potential issues. There are some things that I will fix that Lightburn won't do. Like I will add the additional nodes to prevent Lightburn from misidentifying slots and tabs. And that's a very, very simple process. You've all seen it and I'll show it again, but let me look at all the comments or questions that we are here. Yeah, you could always do an inner box. And that's what I did here with this. I did put some inner pieces for color behind it. But an inner box with the polygon, it's still going to be problematic. That would be tough. If you were doing the pillow that I did worked great. I made a ring box and just got some random foam at the hobby shop and wrapped it in red satin. And that was really gorgeous. You could see the red satin through those little bit of spaces, and it looked really, really good. I'm not sure what's going on there. Chris has been trying to help Richard apparently with something, and Richard's I will email Steve later. I have an account for several months. Not sure. I missed. If you were having a problem, you directed at me, Richard. I missed it. Make sure you're putting question marks or exclamation points so I see that you're having something you want me to address. Oh, did I miss one? Oh, sure did. Thank you, Tom. I did. I'm so busy looking for those question marks and exclamation points because I want to make sure I get everybody's questions addressed. I missed that. Thank you so very much, Tom. And thank you, Craig, for pointing that out. I missed that, but because I was so busy looking for question marks, I seen the exclamation points. You missed the super sticker. Sorry about that. Yeah, you were squirreling. Yep, I'll do that. Yeah, V. I'll be busy telling you about it, squirrel, squirrel, and I'm off on a tangent. You better hold on. It's like a roller coaster sometimes. Da, 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 da. Okay. The other modification, if you haven't seen this, if any of you are new, as when we started this stream, we were talking about what Chris had sent me about how Lightburn is not intuitive enough to differentiate and know what's a tab and what's a slot. So we go back over here to that same design. Well, we know these are slots and they can't be confused as anything else because that's just a toolpath. So it's not even there. So those are only slots. And if you use the slot tool, resizing tool, it would only adjust slot width. But if we grab these and we come in here to the resize slots and selection tool, old materials 3 millimeters, and we want it to be 2 millimeters. Up, look at there. Read your warning. Your group contains it's unsupported items. It's group shapes. Ungroup it. Back to the tool. Resize slots and selection. And there, now you can start to see them. Well, see, it's wanting to change those as slot depth. And those are not slots. They are tabs. And you can change them as tabs. And if you're doing this for yourself, and only you're going to be using your files, and you know that this is a tab and you're only going to adjust the tabs, you don't have to do this. As long as you remember 6 months from now, if you save this file and you're going to use it again, and you recognize, and then you don't change the wrong thing. But to make sure that it cannot be confused, all you have to do is, if you notice here, there we go, back to slot depth. It recognizes it there because we've got a node, a node, a node, and a node. It's got the 4 nodes, or it's just got 2 right angles, 2 90-degree angles from each other right there that it recognizes. So cancel that. If I go back into node editing and I come in here and put a node anywhere in between those right angles, and I'm only going to do the top so you can see the difference. Tools, resize slots and selection. There where I put the nodes at the top, it will not recognize those as slots, but it still sees these as slots because I didn't put that middle node in there. And on all of the files that I generate and sell to you, make available, I've already done that. So that novice builders, not being aware or paying attention to, if they start changing stuff, they can't change anything they shouldn't. And that's why I like designing in Lightburn. I have complete control of what's going on. Sometimes it's a little bit more tedious, but the end result is a perfect Lightburn friendly file. Yeah. That's a good thing. Use show notes to remind you of those things. And a lot of you may not be aware of show notes. So let's show you what Rick's talking about. And Jer says, sorry, I meant just an inner extra piece at the corner on the angle so that yeah, but even then, how would you get that one piece to fit nice in that corner? Then it, I mean, yeah, there's always another way. Just depending on what look you're looking for in the end result. But this is show notes is a cool feature for your files, guys. If you're not aware of this, if it took you 30 minutes to do this and you're like, okay, yeah, it's simple, but I'm struggling with it and I don't want to do this again. And and you save the file. Well, if you go into Lightburn and cancel that, now you've saved the file. Once you've saved the file, in fact, we'll do it. Actually, just file, save as, and I'll put it on the desktop, and we'll do StreamYard test is the name. I'm going to save that. Now that I've got that file saved, I can come up here in my file and show notes. If you click on show notes, there are no notes right here. I'm going to put some notes in here. This was designed to be used solely with 3mm material. Changing the slot, not the lot, the slot size can cause fitment problems, just problems. And turn this on, show on file open, and say okay. And now say save again. And now I'm going to say new. Now I'm going to load from my desktop that StreamYard test. And when I load it, open, it populates those notes. So if it's 3 months, 6 months, or 2 days, or if you're like me and it's just 2 hours ago and you don't forgot what you did yesterday or 2 hours ago, you got notes that'll populate when you open up your file to remind you of things that you can or shouldn't do with that file. Good one. Good suggestion, Rick. Thank you. All right. Now, I mentioned to you about, for those here, domestic. We're 2 hours in. I've got to go to Hobby Lobby and purchase a whole lot of those crosses because I've got a large order to do those crosses, the Amazing Grace cross that I showed you early on in the stream. So I called Hobby Lobby. They go on sale every other week. They're normally $8 and they're 40% off every other week. So I called to find out when they're going to go on sale. They're going to go on sale this coming week. Thank you, Jack. I seen that one. Thank you. And what I seen, there we go. I seen that super sticker pop up. Sorry, I missed the other one. Thank you. What I learned with Hobby Lobby, I called them. They said, yeah, they're going on sale next week at 40% off. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to need 6 of them. And you're out of them now because I just bought everything you had. You didn't have any more. And now when that's a normal stocking item. She said, yes, we do normally stock them. I said, okay, can you tell me what your stock level is? 3. I said, well, I need 6. She said, well, we order on Fridays and they come in on Tuesdays. And I said, okay. As long as the main distribution warehouse has them. I said, okay. And when they come in on Tuesday, they'll be on the sale at 40% off. Yes. Okay. Well, I need 6. Well, we're only going to have 3 come in if the warehouse has them. Well, I'm telling you, I need 6 now. Can you not go ahead and just order me the 6? Nope. If you come in and prepay them and get them on a rain check, I can order them. Okay. Can you do them for me for the 40% off? So I've got to wait until they're on sale at 40% off, go into the store, buy what they have, and then pay for the other ones that I want. They'll write me a rain check on them and order them on the following Friday to come in on the next Tuesday, as long as they have them available at that time. And there's no guarantee they'll still be available at that time. I talked with the warehouse or the store managers, because I used to do inventory control, and I was like, if you see an increased demand on a product, does your inventory control system see that increased demand and automatically increase your stocking levels? I'm like, okay. And if I ask you to place this order now for me, you can't go ahead and order them, even though I'm telling you I'm coming to get them and I'm going to get them on the sale price. Can you not just go ahead and order them? And he said, Hobby Lobby is stuck in the 60s. They just did their year-end inventory, and I was in there when they were doing it, and they had their entire crew in there. There were people everywhere, ladders everywhere, and they were having to obviously they're physical accountant, but nothing's inventoried, but that hand count everything that's in the store. There's nothing electronic about anything. They can't scan this box of 20, or they have to go through and count every single piece. It's very, very archaic in their inventory system. So if you need something from Hobby Lobby and you want it on a sale price, and if you don't, and they alternate stuff. The wood pile is a great place in Hobby Lobby to get good deals on that you can upscale and do added value to items. And the wood pile is what they call it. That's where all these objects are at. They're 40% off on items over $3.99 every other week. But if you want more than one or more than two, more than what they got, you have to buy them, prepay for them, get them on a rain check, wait for them to order them. They come in the following week. A bit nuts. You can order them online without having to do the prepay in store. You're paying for them online, but you still, in order to get that 40% off, you have to wait for them to be on sale at that time. And then you have to pay the shipping to get them from the warehouse to you. You save the shipping by going to the store and getting them at the store. All right. Yeah, buy them now and return them, and then rebuy them at the discounted prices. Yeah, sound that you don't have to do that. They will if they had them in stock. They didn't have them in stock. They were out of them. I already bought all of them. But if I bought 6 of them at the regular price, and this is why this is a little bit ridiculous. I need them. I need them now. I need to be working with them. If I walk back in next week with my receipt where I bought 6 of them and said, will you adjust my price? Yes, we will, but you need to present us with the 6 physical pieces you bought. You have to bring those back in for them to look at them and say, okay, here they are, and we'll adjust it and refund you the difference. But if you don't take them physically into the store, they won't do the price adjustment. Like I said, it's archaic. Back YouTube locked up for me. Oh, you're back. YouTube locked up. Okay. Well, you didn't miss nothing. Any questions? Any questions? I heard a lot of messages going off while I was talking, so I don't know how many of you were ordering crystals or how many of you were downloading this box. Now, I'm telling you, in fact, let's open this file up. Yeah, the cross is $7.99, Carl, on the website, but when you buy it next week, it's $4.79. It's 40% off next week, and it's every other week. It's 40% off. $4.79 when it's on sale, and I buy that cross, and I take my Amazing Grace file, do the Amazing Grace text on the inside of it, and do my little accent pieces glued to the outer perimeter, and I sell those for $40 a piece. So, it's not huge profit, but to save from $7.99 to $4.79, it helps. Especially, I've got an order. I'm doing 6 of them, so by saving, I'm saving almost $20 by waiting and getting those on sale. All right. That's like with online shopping. If they sub wrong product, you have to take it in. Yeah. It's nuts. It's convenient, but there are some things that can be problematic. But for those that are still here, let's look at this file briefly because we're going to wrap this up. This is a lot of pieces. It's an intimidating design, and it's a challenge to assemble. Just telling you. In fact, even in the description, it's not for novice laserologist. It can be a little bit of a challenge. New file, open recent. Well, open e-commerce. Open. So if I scan or select all of this, there's 349 pieces that have to be cut out. 349 pieces, 349 objects. Now, of that 349 objects, a lot of them are the pieces that are being cut out that create the lattice, because those are individual pieces. Those are individual pieces of the 349. But and if you see these are not welded together on purpose so that you can use the resize slots and selection tool, because these are slots that you take these pieces and interlock them together to create an X. So you've got these little bitty pieces that you cut out. They're U-shaped, and my focus is out of focus, and I'm not going to bother focusing it. And when you interlock them together, you get that little X piece. And that X piece will slide into this part of the hinge and this part of the box down here. This is the part where it pivots. So you want to be careful when you're gluing these together and gluing it up, because if you get any glue on the exterior of these pieces that get glued and inadvertently get glued to this, then now she can't pivot. But these are fixed position, and it doesn't matter about glue. It's a little bit of a challenge. And then I've done these funky little accent pieces. They're actually they're structural. These slots right here are for the internal base, this base plate here that goes around all four pieces. But then down on the outer perimeter, I've got another little slot that these guys fit into. This is on the inside, and this is your outer perimeter. And now, and see this, and this is designed for 3mm wood. And now that I see that piece, if you use the resize slots and selection tool with this piece and try to go for a 4mm or 4.5mm material, it ain't gonna work, because you don't have two 90-degree angles or four nodes to recognize that as slots. So that will not resize. It's designed for 3mm wood when I designed this, and that's what I would do it with. But it's a challenge to put together. But I liked the way that those little gussets on the bottom helped reinforce the legs, give them some strength, and then just having that extra little design there at the bottom with that extra slot, or I was like, okay, that looks kind of cool. It's both functional and looks good. On your way? Where? On your way? On OMW? On your way? On my way? On your way where? Are they wood or plastic? Do you have an item number? Talking about the crosses? They're they're press wood. They're probably made out of MDF. And I'll go over there. Hobby Lobby. And switch. That backing piece is about 1/8 of an inch thick, and I'm pretty sure it's fiberboard or MDF. This is about 3/4 of an inch thick, and it's the same MDF, but it has a different veneer on it, and this is a white veneer. The item number is 191-5651 on Hobby Lobby's website. 1915651, white and brown with the blank wood cross. And I turned that into that. And I sell those for 40 a piece. So that becomes that. Oh my word. Okay. I was all OMW on my way. Oh my word. I don't know these things. Well, thank you, Brad. I ain't no telling what comes out of here. All right, we're 2 hours, 10 minutes in. I can be here all night because I ain't got nothing there to do. This is my life. This is how I make my living. And I appreciate everybody that supported me tonight with the super thanks in any of the orders that were online. If you downloaded this file for that basket, and actually, I think this is kind of a cool design. I was looking at it and thinking, okay, what are the practical purposes of it? Well, it can be done just as a table centerpiece. You know, you could open that up and have those out, and then you use that as a planter or a seasonal decoration, whatever. It'd be kind of cool. It can be used for a couple of different things. But I just seen a similar design, and I wanted to challenge myself to recreate it. And I spent a week doing it, and I did it. But if you have any problems, I'll try and walk you through it. But just know it's a challenge. Well, thank you, Bob, for your support. Thank you for still hanging in there with me. I know we've got a decent crowd here. We've piddled off some. Happens when I get through the tutorials. A lot of it peters off. And I just got a message from Craig. Says, bring Chris in if he wants to come in. It would be fun. Well, we might do that next week, or next week might even be better for him because it'll be a 3 o'clock time slot for me, which would be a better time for him. If you add a ring around the center design, the lids can sit on them to make the lid close level. Yeah. And I actually was going to do that initially in my very initial design. They were going to be interlocking and then have the outermost piece would sit like you're talking about. Yeah, I actually looked at doing that. But I said, you know what? I think this might display better as like a little planter or something like that. And just getting that hinge properly placed so that I had the clearance for it to pivot and getting the modifications. Well, let's see. There and there. So figuring out I needed that little notch right there was crucial in getting it to the clearance I needed. And then also getting that circle positioned in the proper placement on that hinge to give me a good fit with the lid in proximity to the box and still have clearance. That's where something like SketchUp or a few of the other CAD drawings that are out there, they will allow you to make these designs and create them in 3D environments and see the functionality before you actually make anything. That would be cool to do, but I like to sticking with Lightburn. Yeah, Jer, it looks like a sewing box. Yep. Yeah, it ain't nothing simple about this, buddy. Nothing simple about it. All right. Thank you for everybody for being here. Thank you for your support. I hope you learned something tonight. I hope you were entertained, either by me or the rest of the guys in the group in the chats. Hobowithwood.com for my digital files. If you would like to support me financially without doing the super thanks and without having to spend a single extra dime, hobowithwood.com/Amazon. hobowithwood.com/Amazon. It will take you to your exact same Amazon landing page. But anything you buy will give me a couple of pennies. And you can help the Hobo with Wood Nation, the calls here out with everything you buy. If you don't like going out in public and you buy as much as you can online and like having it come to your doorstep and not have to deal with anybody, hobowithwood.com/Amazon, and I'll get a few pennies on whatever you're buying whenever you buy it. All right, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. I'm going to call it a night. It's going to get cold for us here in the States. I don't know about what you got going on in your world, Chris. I don't know how bad the weather's or how bad the heat's getting for you, but we're going to be in sub temperatures in places throughout the continental U.S. this week. It's record-breaking lows. It's not going to be good. All right, guys. Enjoy your weekend, what's left of it. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for staying and playing. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.